All right, let's talk about the 2-0 Baltimore Ravens beating the Cincinnati Bengals. I want to talk about Lamar Jackson, who I kind of said last week I thought was a bit underwhelming. We saw all these new tools in the toolbox, and we were looking forward to seeing how it was going to play out against a not great Houston team, in my opinion, and it was, I thought, a bit underwhelming. It wasn't terrible, just like not awesome like we thought it might be. But I personally thought Lamar was great in this game. I thought this was a really good Ravens game in general. Lamar Jackson was PFF's second highest graded Baltimore offensive player in this game. Nelson Agholor was actually number one, interestingly enough. I thought Lamar just did what he can do when he's, what we saw him do all of last year too. I think people kind of forget what happened last year. He was a good passer last year too, and he showed it again here, where what's going to happen is, starting off with this play, it's going to be a one-on-one matchup on the outside, have a receiver running an out route past the first down marker. And kind of what you want to see is you don't need guys getting wide open. You just need guys getting open, right? You just need guys creating some space. And that's what you're going to hope to see from Odell here. Odell Beckham Jr., that's the route. And watch what happens. Lamar is going to take the snap, and you're going to see that he fires down the field, and this is not a wide open throw, but there is a window here. And to me, while we see an emergence of running quarterbacks, I feel like everyone's trying to, replicate the Lamar Jackson situation. The reason why it doesn't always work out is because Lamar is still a very good thrower of the football. I've said this before, and I believe it. Lamar is an NFL caliber quarterback, like even if you took away his athleticism, like he is that good of a thrower, whereas some of these players just aren't, and they're trying to use their running ability to make up for it. And as you see, that's a perfectly accurate ball. Odell does make the catch there. So Odell had some pretty solid plays in this one. Again, he hasn't yet looked like the, New York Giants Odell Beckham Jr. in a Ravens uniform, but he's made some good plays. He did get banged up in this game, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be a massive deal. He might miss some time, but not like a huge deal. But it just, these things are what you like to see from Lamar. And like this one's another one. This one's one that gets you excited if you're a Ravens fan. Again, hopefully Odell is not gone for too long. But this is what we thought we could see consistently once Odell came into the came to the Ravens, where this is a zone coverage play, and you see Beckham's route. It's going to be a route just trying to get into a gap in coverage over the middle. Watch as Lamar takes the snap. He's going to look over towards Odell. I just realized Odell and Lamar, two of the players that I say their first names instead of their last names typically. Wonder what, I don't know if there's any significance there. I think they're just fun names to say. And I don't want to say Jackson over and over again because that's my name. Anyway, random tangent over. You see that Odell is open, but what you want to see from Lamar here isn't just to hit Odell and get a completion, because you should get a completion. It's not the easiest throw in the world. You do have to get it in between the two Cincinnati players who are covering over the middle and all that stuff, but still, it should be a completion. But ideally, you want to hit Odell in a position where he can still run after the catch. And that's going to be exactly what Lamar does. Odell is able to move, and while it, doesn't end up in a ton more on this specific play, I don't think, it did still get them a decent chunk play. So really good stuff from Odell and from Lamar. And, again, in future plays, I do expect it to go for a lot more yards when Odell can be in open space and make things happen. This play is also just a great example of what Lamar brings to the table, where I'm going to highlight one Cincinnati player, but there's several defensive linemen you could pinpoint on this play just to showcase how difficult it is to try and pass rush Lamar Jackson. This is a 3rd down and 2, so right off the bat, you don't even know if it's going to be a passing play. It could be a run, and in fact, Baltimore is even going to run a play action. On top of it, Lamar could run at the football himself. So watch that Cincinnati defensive lineman. Watch how he kind of, disengages, is looking for Lamar, trying to make sure Lamar does not get outside the pocket. Gets to this point, we're 5 seconds into the play. This is a marathon time to be blocking, but it just makes it so much easier to pass block when you have someone like Lamar. Sometimes, again, can also create more holding penalties and stuff like that. But I guess what I probably should say, and the way I should phrase it, is it makes it so much more difficult to pass rush someone like Lamar, because you just don't know if he's going to run, which gap he's going to go towards. You don't want to let him give up containment, so you can't just do whatever you want to do. At this point, Lamar now has so much time. He finally does hit Mark Andrews, who's open, and you're able to pick up a good chunk play. And Lamar does some nice things to help make that work as well. He does some subtle moves, but kind of how he moves around in a pocket but then stops. That little thing kind of gets defenders out of position a little bit. It's almost like juking them out when you have a blocker in front of you. So all of that stuff just really good and really effective for Baltimore. Also, something like this, where what's going to happen is this is exactly what you want to see from the Ravens. It's just a simple little rub route situation to get Mark Andrews the football. This is simple, but at the same time, in the past, Mark Andrews, I think, is, one of the more underrated players in football. Like, I think that he is, I've said this a couple years ago. I feel like people are starting to open up to the idea of it now, that I do believe he's the second best tight end in football. I think Kelsey 1, I would go Andrews 2, and then Kittle 3. But when you are basically the entire team's offense, like we had seen from, Andrews in the past, there's just too much attention getting drawn on you as a tight end, and you can't do that much. But now with attention getting taken away from him, he can really, maybe the overall bulk stats might not be as impressive, but the volume and the efficiency stats will be a lot more impressive. Watch as when Lamar takes the snap and rolls out, Andrews is open in this scenario. They are able to run this well. Every Baltimore receiver down there is doing a good job, and Lamar makes this throw and is going to pick up a touchdown. One of the things I think that is really underrated for the Baltimore Ravens, and for just football in general, is having multiple receivers who can run routes. Running good setup routes is something that just doesn't get talked about enough in the NFL, but is really important. Having guys who can help out, get other guys open, really results in a lot of players being able to get more yards. Also, something like this I think is really good. Again, nothing we haven't seen before from Lamar, and I would argue we've seen all of this before from the Ravens. It's just more efficient now. To me, that's what I've seen from this game. We've seen all these things happen at times, but we haven't seen it happen this consistently before. This is another great example of just what Lamar brings to the table. It's zone coverage. You have three receivers running those three routes, which means that think about how you're going to cover this for Cincinnati. If it's going to be a quick throw, how do you cover it? Well, no big deal, right? You got three defenders who could, which can cover all three of those eligible receivers in this zone coverage setup. However, when they do that and they make sure they're covering those three players, now Lamar steps up. And if you're that Cincinnati player, what do? I mean, you can't just completely abandon the guy you're supposed to cover, or you have a wide open receiver. But since he didn't, Lamar is able to run forward and he just picks up the first down that way. So again, just as much as the running ability for Lamar helps set up the pass, the other aspect is true as well. Once you start passing effectively, it'll be easier for Lamar to run. And again, his MVP season, that's what he can do. The reason why I picked Baltimore to win this division this year is because I felt like the addition of those receivers could be really impactful, and we could see kind of, I've always been a believer in that the issues that people bring up about Lamar Jackson are more so Baltimore Ravens offense issues instead of issues about Lamar Jackson in general. While it has been true that if you force him to throw, it hasn't been as effective. To me, I think that's more about the receiving talent they've had in past years than him himself. And so far in this game, it's looking like we could see something maybe unlocked. Although, again, still a small sample size, and I think we've seen this before from Lamar. He can do this. This is no surprise, but it's still cool to see him kind of all the way back, in my opinion. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.